Welcome to the BAI show. My name's James Rankin and I'm here with Tristan Larkin from Tommy Buyers Agents. Welcome, mate.
Mate, pleasure. Good to be here.
How good. We're definitely rolling into the lovely weather of Melbourne.
Oh, dude, don't get me started.
And we're just talking, downstairs on the attire, going for the woolen jumper.
Well,
knitted jumper.
Mate, I don't know why you're in a t-shirt.
Mate, I was freezing.
It's literally ice in Melbourne at the moment.
Yeah. I wasn't thinking I was going to be standing outside so long. But in terms of what you're seeing in the market at the moment, like heading into winter, with these rate adjustments, it's not really what we're seeing leading up to the colder months in Melbourne, hey?
Yeah, I mean, it's very different. Like in terms of stock at the moment, we're 16% lower at this time compared to this time last year. So 16% less listings that are out there. So, I mean, we're actually going into winter with a lot less stock. And usually what that means is agents have literally just had less work. They've made less money. So interestingly, a lot of the agents that I'm chatting with are actually trying to push a lot harder going into winter. Like typically what happens in like the colder months is, they all go on,
Mykonos.
The pilgrimage to Mykonos, as we like to call it with the agents. So they take a bunch of time off. I don't think it's going to be like that in 2025. I think that there's just like less stock and less activity that's been happening in the market at the moment. And I wouldn't be surprised if that actually started to change a little bit and it actually picked up, especially in line with these rate cuts that we've just seen. But yeah, man, it's interesting. I was chatting with like a pretty prominent agent that, operates in Boroondara. And she said she's only got 2 auctions listed for June, and wow. It's like pretty low for her. So yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. It's all a bit all over the place at the moment.
It is, and it's like, it's why we say to a lot of people, or I'll say to a lot of people, you don't know what the market's going to do. Like the difference between a Monday phone call with an agent or a Saturday phone call with an agent versus a Wednesday, like the following Wednesday or Thursday, could be totally different. You'd be like, I've got no listings. Call them on Thursday, I've got 10 listings. You know what I mean? Like it changes rapidly. So yeah, I mean, all things to come and uncover over the next couple of weeks, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, every single agent that I speak to is telling a different story at the moment. I think every market is operating at very, very different speeds. Like, yeah, the inner Melbourne compared to some of the outer markets, just completely different. And like, I tell them about each other's stories of what they're telling me, and they're like, what's going on out there?
Yeah.
It's, I mean, Melbourne it's completely running its own race at the moment. Definitely different to what the rest of the country would be as well.
Interesting. Mate, to rewind a little bit, jump straight into the nitty gritty there, but looking back at what you've done on your journey to become a buyer's agent, because how long have you been doing it now?
Since 2021, I started full time. 2021.
Yeah, that was about what I thought. So if we went back beyond 2021, what were you doing in the lead up to, where we are now?
Yeah, so I mean, I was working in the entertainment industry and I was doing that since, for multiple years prior. I was working in events and marketing. I was helping to run a recording studio. We were working with artists. I was managing nightclubs. I was doing just everything in that sort of sector. And then completely, I did like a bit of a slow transition, but I think that, I was always interested in becoming like a real estate agent, but I just never wanted to
do sales.
Yeah, I never wanted to do sales, literally. And I mean, well, funnily enough, actually in between there somewhere, I did have a door knocking job where I was doing literally B2B sales. So I got a taste of that and enough to know that I enjoyed it, but there's also a bit of a yucky feeling that comes to some of that with sales. So yeah,
and on the entertainment side, so you were, I know a little bit about you.
Yeah.
In terms of running major events, like on the PR stuff, like Falls Festival and all of that, and then working at Crown, which were you doing? I know you were doing Crown up until, a couple of years ago, but how early on were you doing the PR stuff? Because that's like a big gig, right? Like in terms of huge events.
Honestly, I was literally left university and that was just like the dream job. So that was, I can't even remember when that would have been. I think that was like 2018, 2019. It was, Falls Festivals was like the big one. We were doing the PR for all of those artists and like multiple other sideshows. When they were doing the tours, it was all the other events that were there. And then I went and worked for a different PR agency where it was more specialized in sort of hip hop and pop music. And then, I mean, I worked at a major label for a little bit in there as well before heading over to Crown.
And that's where I was trying to get to, the label.
Mm-hmm.
So what were you doing at that label? Like, what was your role there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was in sort of marketing and admin assistant there. And that was honestly awesome. Like I wasn't there for that long because I ended up taking the full-time gigs in the PR space. But like that was a very cool industry because the artists that I was like one of the first artists that I was working on was like Macklemore. Like, you know, it's just huge music and labels and
It's cool. And contract negotiation, right?
yeah, well, it was seeing what the deals were with like JB Hi-Fi stores, right? And like how many orders they were sort of shipping and
Commit to? Would they commit to, X amount?
Yeah, what they'd commit to, and then, you know, how they would sort of push and promote artists that are coming on tour and like what they do to get ready for those sort of drops. And then, you know, how their relationships with radio, which is what I ended up getting sort of more involved with from the PR side of things. Like they're huge contracts. So, I mean, I got to see a lot of the behind the scenes of literally the biggest artists in the world at that time. And this was like straight out of uni, which was, it was epic.
Oh, yeah. And people have an affinity with that. You know what I mean? Like we all listen to music. Well, a lot of us listen to music. So if you're behind the curtain and you're seeing how everything works, I know that's why you got out of it in the end. Because you saw behind the curtain.
Yeah, I saw too much.
Yeah. But on that, I even remember you telling me about the little Shazam boxes that they have in nightclubs and all those, you know, venues.
APRA, AMCOS. The fun of it,
Like all those little bits and pieces that just record.
Yeah, no one knows how much it costs to play live music in venues. Like you think of like you're at a bar or something and, you know, someone's paying for that music and it's not like it's, you know, a couple of grand that you're paying in fees. Like some of them are literally like $200,000-$300,000 a year in music costs to just run that into a venue. You know, like where's that coming from? You know,
yeah, so, it's crazy. But the contract negotiation, seeing all of the bits and pieces that went on in that world, like obviously it's probably high tension. You know, like millions of dollars at stake. Like dealing with all that probably set you up pretty well for what, you know, we do now.
Well, what's interesting about the contract negotiation with some of those artists is like how poorly I saw some of it was done and rolled out. And as an example of that, without giving away too much, I don't know if it'd get me in any trouble, but do you think
Don't say a name.
No, so just, you know how the big festivals work and some of them will have these huge named artists that end up pulling out the week before the show and they've already sold the tickets and everyone's paid money and they're like, well, the main artist that I was going to see is pulled out. They don't honestly have contracts like locked in a lot of the time. A lot of it's like verbal and the lawyers are sort of getting involved and it's a lot of back and forth and it's a lot of push and pull and they leverage time so that as you get closer to the date, you've already committed, you've already advertised, you've already done promotion and like they sign off some stuff on the way so that you can advertise and do promo. And then they can pull it on the last minute if they don't, but they'll ask for like a huge fee. Like they'll just double their fee the week out and say, oh, well, we're not going to come then. And then you're stuffed. It's nuts.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that was very, very interesting and seeing how like time was relevant in deals. Cause I mean, time I think is probably the biggest thing that kills deals in real estate transactions as well. And I mean, seeing how some of the artists negotiate and their artist managers and the agents, like learning about like when to put prices forward and how people can sort of pull out on deals, quite honestly similar to how some real estate agents negotiate as well, especially in, you know, different transactions, maybe not auctions, but private sales and EOI campaigns. So, I mean, yeah, I did take a fair bit from the artist side of things coming into the real estate world.
Yeah, it would help a lot. You know what I mean? Like if you're seeing that kind of stuff and those high tension, high pressure situations, you know, if you've been running marketing campaign and then all of a sudden, hey, we're not doing this thing unless you double our fee. Like it's 200 grand now, it's 400 grand. Like take it or leave it kind of situation. It is similar to some of the bullshit that we deal with in the real estate world. You know, like I say to people around the first time a conveyancer on the other side says no to your building and pest clause or no to your finance clause or whatever it is. And they're like, oh, no, you're obligated to settle the property. It's like, you know, the first time that you ever heard that, it's kind of like, holy crap, what do I need to do? Like, what is happening here? But it just sets you up, right? It just thickens your skin.
Yeah, I mean, it's high pressure. Like, I feel like one of the reasons that people come to us as buyers agents is that we just inherit the stress for them. Like, it's honestly a bit of what it feels like sometimes. Like, we'll just take on all the stress. You guys can relax. You don't have to see all like the grotty conversations behind the scenes and the arguments and everything else that happens.
Exactly.
And yeah, you get to enjoy the whole process of the property buying journey, and we'll take on the rest.
Yeah, exactly. And so you did that. Then you were doing some nightclub gigs at Crown, BA World. So what did those first like couple of years look like, as you transitioned?
Yeah, so I mean, it was honestly just a real pivotal moment, I suppose, because I contemplated going into real estate for a while, and then I thought maybe I didn't really want to do that. And then I was like, well, I really love the analytics and sort of guiding people through the process. And I knew I wanted to be in property. So I thought, well, maybe I'll go into mortgage broking or go work for a bank or something like that. And I was sort of on the fence for that for a little while. And then I saw the BAI ads like everyone does. Yeah. And I was like, that is perfect. Like, it's literally in the middle where it's still a nurturing guiding role of like, but the big bit for me was I still get to go through all the homes, right? Like, I get to go and see all of the properties.
Yep.
Like, I was the guy that was sort of driving around on all of the expensive streets of every suburb that I was in, trying to find where all the cool houses were. So yeah, and then like how I suppose transitioned into that was in that community, I was just like flicking through, trying to find, I suppose, people that were knowledgeable, knew what they were talking about, that had some businesses that I could learn from in and around that market, which is where I discovered obviously yourself and the Elephant Group. I mean, what I did, I was listening to all sorts of different podcasts at the time, just trying to like consume as much knowledge as humanly possible about buyer's agency, finance, property world, just everything that there possibly could be to know. And I came across, I can't even remember what podcast it was that you guys...
Trunking Truth.
The Trunking Truth. Yeah. And I mean, you guys had like 50 episodes out on that or whatever it was. And yeah, I listened to every one of them. Once I finished the podcast, and then I thought I'd just like reach out and be like, hey, I finished your podcast. Like, let's have a chat or catch up for a coffee or something like that. Yeah. And then, I mean, one thing led to another. That gave the opportunity of, being able to just jump straight into full time in like the buyer's agent world. And that was like just exactly what I wanted. I was like, the quickest way to learn is to spend, 50 hours a week
in that
doing
office.
It, right? Yeah, literally.
In Mount Waverley. Because I think you came straight into Mount Waverley.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that office.
Yeah.
Man, I remember the phone call or maybe it was an email inquiry or something like that that you sent through.
I remember.
And it was a no at the start, and then it was the conversation still kept going because we'd let go a couple of people, like we'd let go a couple of contractors. I'm like, hey, this thing isn't working for me. Like, the contractor stuff's not working. I'm just gonna sit here with a VA and I'm just gonna nut it out myself. And you were like, hey, like, I'm still living at home. Like, I'll just be a sponge. I really want to learn and just want to figure out this thing. And I think it was after a couple of weeks, like, I'd spoken to Shahan and
the team.
I was just like, this guy seems pretty keen. And he was just like, you know what, let's bet on it. You know what I mean? Like, versus going the contractor role, let's do the employment role. And then it all sort of kicked off from there, and met up in a car park in Berwick because it was probably COVID. Like, it was probably still COVID time.
It was the thick of it, mate. It was the thick of it all. Like, that was people wearing masks and all that was going on still. Yeah,
crazy shit, man. And then in terms of that progression, I would say, and we had a conversation on this recently around what you wanted to do in the business and like what you enjoy doing in the business, and you are definitely the clean cut version of a buyer's agent. Like, the normal buyer's agent, not like an investment buyer's agent, like the traditional buyer's agent, because you like dealing with clients, you do sales calls, you want to go through the open homes with them, you like talking to agents, you like going to auctions, doing all that stuff, being through guiding settlement, being there on settlement, catching up with them afterwards. Like, I know a couple of weeks ago or the last couple of weeks, you've been catching up with clients that you purchased for, a year ago, 2 years ago. Like you love all of that. Like,
yeah, I mean, for sure. Like that's exactly what I wanted to do too, you know, like that's well and truly. And, you know, it's as an extension of that, like that's everything that I feel like a buyer's agent could do. And owner-occupied buyer's agents and investor buyer's agents is completely different businesses, I think. You can sort of have a blend of both. I think the way that I sort of saw it is that I just wanted to specialize geographically. So specialize in Melbourne, and then it just happens to be that like 90% of those purchases are done by owner-occupiers. It's like, perfect, let's just do that. But the thing that I really like about being a buyer's agent as opposed to a real estate agent is that a real estate agent, in order to stand out in those marketplaces, you sort of need to specialize in like one suburb. Maybe you can get 2 or 3, but you'll have like one suburb. I sell houses in Ashburton, and then I might do a little bit of Glen Iris and Camberwell or something.
Yeah.
Whereas a buyer's agent, you help people create their briefs, but you can specialize in a bit of a larger area. So I get to go through epic homes from Collingwood and Fitzroy down to the Bayside, Middle Park, Albert Park, all of those areas, as well as like we just bought property out in Ringwood. And so, I mean, I get to see so many different property types and areas, and I reckon that's like probably one of the best bits. I mean, I love going through all the homes. Like, I mean, 6 days a week, you work every single Saturday it opens. It's funnily enough, that's why some clients come to us because they hate it.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I just enjoy it all, man.
Yeah. And it's so cool, like to see you get that like out of the role, you know what I mean? Like the thing that you're doing, that's what you wanted to do, and now you're doing it. Like it's really cool because, you know, you said that you came through ads. It's Facebook. Is this thing real? Like, we hear it all the time. Like, I speak to people.
Don't trust it at all.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this thing's bullshit. Like, it's a scam, but it's not. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
that's exactly why I just wanted to reach out to people. Like, you know, you get into the group or whatever, and like I'd done some previous courses in like different industries prior. I did Facebook ads and different sorts of marketing, e-commerce. Like I did it all. Yeah. And I was just like, well,
I still got one of those knives actually.
Oh, do you? Yeah, there you go, mate. I'm still giving them away. But I was just like, well, I thought the best thing to do was you go and chat to people that are actually doing it. Yeah. You know, live the full-time life or whatever. And I think honestly, I mean, other buyers agents out there, I'd recommend doing the same thing. Just go catch up with BAs that are doing it well and doing what you want to do, and just sort of see what it looks like. What does it actually feel like in that sort of area? And that's, I mean, worked pretty well for me, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, if anything I can say to people thinking about it, listening, it is real. Like the whole industry, like it's not this made up thing. It's not, I even think, even though e-commerce isn't made up, right? Like in drop shipping, that might be a little bit mysterious, like in terms of what happens with drop shipping and Amazon and like all these other Kindle publishing and whatnot. But e-commerce, like if you're going to compare that against buyer's agency, right? Like in terms of what we do, e-commerce, you have to come up with something that you might enjoy, right? Like you might actually enjoy the things that you're selling, but you have to find the thing that you're selling, right? Then you have to go and get it produced. You have to go and find suppliers for it. Then there's logistics. How are you going to package it? How are you going to send it? How are you going to bring it back to Australia and send it out to your clients? There's a whole back end. I know Shopify and things like that make it more like simpler these days, but there's a lot more thought involved on it versus which buyer's agent do you want to be? Do you want to be an investment buyer's agent, or do you want to be an owner-occupied buyer's agent or a location specialist? This is a real job. Like it's a real industry that is growing, right? Like it's 100% growing because people can't get into markets. You know what I mean? Like if you're going into Frankston now, for instance, good freaking luck. Seriously, good luck buying there without a buyer's agent, especially if you're interstate. Like if you're coming from Sydney or Brisbane trying to buy in Melbourne and you're dealing with agents over the phone, they're not going to deal with you. Like you have to have a buyer's agent in this market or in that particular market. And there's many across Melbourne. There's many across Australia now. Yeah,
I don't even think it's just the lower end either. I think the upper end is just as difficult, in some ways more challenging to buy. And this is, I mean, there's going to have to be legislative change to try to knock out a bunch of BAs from the industry, because I think like the underquoting at some of those levels, when you're in like the 2 to 3 mil range of price points, if you don't really understand how to evaluate property, it is so challenging. And like we were chatting with a guy earlier this week that had missed out on 2 or 3 auctions. And he, he needs to sell in order to buy. He's upsizing, and that whole experience has made him trust agents less, funnily enough, because he's brought agents through his place, and then they're trying to like get him into something else in order for him to sell. And he's like, I just know that they're lying straight to my face. And he had 2.1 as a max budget to spend, looking in Boroondara, like around the Q area. And he was telling me that he'd had a chat with some agents. I won't say the agency, but it's dark blue. And they were quoting this property up to 1.8. So it's like 1.7 to 1.8. And they were saying like, you need to come, you need to be at the auction. Like you've got a really good chance at buying this. Like, this one's perfect for you. Like what don't you like about it? And he obviously loved this home. And it sold for like 2.365 or something, it's like, it's close to 600 grand. Like, what are we doing, And so he's saying like, well, I just can't trust agents. Now he's like skeptical about selling his home.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, there's just a great role and service there, not just for the buyer's agency, but from the vendor advocacy space.
Yeah.
And like we've done some vendor advocacy stuff recently, and there's like, I'm so glad that there's someone that's representing us and we don't even have to speak to agents on the sell side of things. Like it's just like, get someone in that you can actually trust, you have a really good relationship with, and they can just manage the whole process from start to finish.
Yeah, it's interesting because I look at Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, right? Like let's just take the East Coast, probably the rest of Australia as well. Melbourne is by far the more dominant vendor advocacy state, right? Like or city. So I know we've had a push, like there was a push from a certain agency that I don't want to advertise in Melbourne that was doing vendor advocacy for many, many years. Like on 3AW, they just pushed vendor advocacy for ages, and it wasn't really publicized as vendor advocacy. It was just like the traps of selling your home.
Yep.
That's how they marketed it. So that's a possibility. But also we know that Melbourne's the largest state, has the highest per capita auctions, right? Like the most amount of auctions, like market saturation in terms of who runs auctions. Melbourne has the most. So that could also be the underquoting side of it. Like people just don't know what they're doing. They don't trust agents. So all of this just might feed back into that.
Yeah.
Where you're going and looking at buying a property, agents are telling you one thing, it sells for another thing. And that scenario of you dealing with your clients on the vendor advocacy side where they're going, hey, I just don't want to deal with any agents. You know what I mean? The first vendor advocacy client that I had was exactly that.
Yeah.
He hated real estate agents.
Yeah.
Like hated them.
Not the most trusted industry in Australia, unfortunately.
No, like he literally said, I'm leaving at 4:05 or 5 to 4, whenever it was. I do not want to see the agent in the driveway. Like they have to come after 5 to 4. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because he just didn't want to interact with them. It was crazy. He was in a very bad situation, and definitely not saying that all real estate agents are bad. 95% of them are good. It's just this few that, one bad apple spoils the bunch scenario. And yeah, unfortunately it just drags it down.
Yeah. And well, it's another interesting thing about vendor advocacy, which I think is, something that we've dealt with a lot, is some vendors, which, clients that might not like the industry and how the whole auction process works, where they don't want to be the person that's like, I'm underquoting my home massively. And that can actually be a problem, because if you're selling in a market that has the majority of homes in there are underquoted by $100,000 to $150,000 for your particular property type and price point, and then you say, well, I refuse to go down that route and I'm going to quote it at what I'll put the reserve in the middle of the range, run it to auction, let's just see what happens. You can literally just damage yourself and really stuff up your campaign. And so there is ways around it. And the agent might just come in and be like, no, just do it $200,000-$300,000 lower. Trust me, it'll work. It's how we get the best result. And unfortunately, sometimes that's literally just the case too, right? Like they're literally just going to get a better result from doing that. Sometimes the market expects that. And, I've seen this a lot of times where it's quoted reasonably and the reserve's actually within the range, and then no one shows up at auction because everyone thinks that they want $200,000 or $300,000 above that, and they're like, it's not worth it. So sometimes even the vendors that have got the best intentions and they don't like the whole real estate space and they don't want to deal with it, they do need advice on how to be able to navigate that process. And maybe it's not running to auction. Maybe you do a different sort of campaign. It's an EOI campaign or it's a private sale or whatever it is. But just having someone that is sort of on your side and just giving you the truthful information about, well, what's going to be the best step forward for them is actually just really valuable.
Yeah, for sure. And just going back to that higher end real estate, you brought up a good point on like just around access, you know what I mean? So access to those properties that you probably wouldn't even know are selling. And that's more prominent in the higher end space.
100%.
So like 3 mil plus, even 2.5 mil plus, right? Like you might get some higher profile people like footy player or something like that just doesn't want people, you know, walking through their property. They tend to like selling off market.
Yeah. And well, I mean, I think definitely the higher the price point, the higher the percentage of off markets. And I think it probably starts at like 1 mil. Like if you're going to a buyer's agent and you've got a budget less than $1 million to try to get access to off markets, I think that's might not be just the best way forward. It might just not be the case because in that first home buyer and investor market, it's just market saturation. And, you know, you just list it online and it will sell within a week or 2 weeks if you price it correctly. And you're just going to take the most competitive offer, and a lot of those people are subject to whatever. So, but then as soon as you get above that, especially, I think it's not just price point specific, but it's also market specific. So I think the inner city suburbs more so specifically, in those blue chip great suburbs of inner Melbourne, there's just a much higher percent of properties that are selling off market or pre-market. I was chatting with Marshall White in Port Phillip, and they say that easy over 25% of all sales in their entire office are done off market. And yeah, I think typically the main reason for it is privacy.
Yeah.
And like some people say like, well, you know, why would someone sell off market? You know, if you're selling a $2 million home, you need to spend, you know, $15,000 in marketing. Like, why would no one do that? And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, marketing is one thing, but I think really it's the privacy aspect of it which makes the biggest difference.
Well, you know, divorce is common. You know what I mean? Like
it's one of the most common reasons for sales.
Yeah, exactly right. So it was funnily enough, a Marshall White agent told me that back in the day, one from Brighton, I think it was. And yeah, ever since then, it sort of stuck with me. So yeah, I think the percentages back then were literally like 50-50. Like in terms of a house sale, there was a very high proportion of people selling homes because of divorce. And we hear it all the time, right? Like
for sure.
Agents try to keep it under wraps, but you know, because we're on the in, they might go, oh, you know, it's a divorce, you know, like they do want to move. They're, you know, they
tell us.
Yeah. They're motivated to sell. Anything else that you see sort of in that market, like that?
Well, I mean,
market?
So another one that we heard is we went to a home in Canterbury for a client, beautiful home, and it was close to their kids' school. Like the kids' primary school was across the road, and they just said, we don't want all of our kids, friends, parents knowing that we're selling and then coming through the home after school. Like if we're doing an open or anything, they're just like, and like you could literally see the school down the road from where the home was, and like obviously everyone knew where they lived, or at least the vendor thought that, and they're just like, we don't want anyone knowing, so they just ran an off-market campaign. I mean, we bought one that was just like an exceptional buy, and the reason for sale there was it was a deceased estate, which is also another very common one, and those particular clients or those vendors were hoarders, I'll say. And it was, when I say packed to the rafters, like literally I climbed in the attic and it was literally full of just like multiple generations of family belongings. And so for them, you know, they don't want a bunch of strangers walking through their home and seeing all of their family stuff. Like they're obviously going through a pretty difficult emotional period. And, you know, we were the only people that saw that property and matched the client's brief. So, you know, got the clients to even write like a letter to the vendors, and you know, we got that for an exceptional price because we just said, well, look, how about we give you a 180-day settlement and you can take all your time that you need and you can get family to come in and help you and you don't have to rush through this whole process, but we want it for this price. And you know, it was an unencumbered home, like there was no mortgage on that, and it was 2 daughters that had inherited it, so they were pretty much getting $1 million each anyway. Like an extra 50 or 100 grand to them didn't like,
especially when they're splitting it.
Yeah,
Doesn't really matter.
it meant nothing to them. But the fact is that they didn't have to do marketing, they didn't have to do sales, they didn't have to do open homes, they didn't have to get the renovations ready for sale. They'd have to move out all of their belongings in a couple of weeks. They need to get movers. They'd need to put a bunch of it into storage. One of the daughters was still living there part time, so they'd need to upend their life. Like 180 days to them meant everything. And our clients get them $100,000 in a discount. They're pretty happy with that as well. And it's like they're the opportunities that buyers agents give people. And like we were the only persons that saw that home. Like not even another BA saw that,
Yeah.
So you get the good relationships in those inner city markets and it can literally save you $100,000.
A lot of people never understand that, right? Exactly what you said on the $1 million sub $1 million mark, where you're better off running it. Because people always ask that question, but surely the agent would just want it online. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not always the agent. That they literally, the only way that they can get the sale is if they do it off market.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that.
Well, it's a good point actually. So a lot of agents will sign an off market authority. So that's like an easier sales pitch for an agent going into a home. It's like, how about we just sign it up on an off market authority and I'll just like
find you a buyer.
I'll just shop it to my list. And then vendors that are on the fence, they don't know if they want to sell or not. They might just be like, oh, well, I'll give it to you for 6 weeks or something on an off market campaign. Let's like see what you can do. And I mean, another thing is as well, and I chat with some agents that you might say are transactional or more transactional. And like we've had conversations with agents before where we've bought things off market and they've said to me, hey, Tristan, got 8 listings coming on in 2 weeks' time. Please don't make me put this online. Like, let's just get it done. Like, I just want to sell it. Like, I don't care. Just want to move on as quickly as possible. So sometimes it does come from the agent as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the vendor directed. But yeah, again, it's like the higher the price point, the chances of it, like the higher the chance of it being off market. I think, especially if you're like over 20 mil, I'd say the vast majority of properties are off market. Like
easy.
$50 million sale in Turak a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Off market just occurred. And it's like, well, that was probably never going to come online. Like something of that caliber. Like there's occasional ones that you do get it.
Yeah, and there'd be ones that you don't even know. Like,
for sure.
Because they don't want it publicized. It's like, hey, do not tell anyone. Like vendor, buyer, like they just want it totally under wraps. That would happen all the time. Like, yeah, sure, we hear these bigger ones because they probably want it publicized. You know what I mean? Like the buyer would slip it to the, the newspaper or whatever it might be.
The agent usually is the one that says,
or the agent.
Yeah, like, hey, I just sold something $30 million.
Yeah, let me put a sign
market.
up the front.
Yeah,
the front.
But usually, like you read all these stories and usually it'll say that due to privacy information, you can't disclose the price, the actual price, and you can't disclose who the buyers are.
Yeah.
And you don't want to tell the story or anything like that of where they've gone or what they're doing. So it's all very, very discreet. It's a pretty exclusive high-end market.
Yeah.
Which is very important.
So with, you obviously deal with a lot of real estate agents and you're working in those higher price points, probably some of the best real estate agents in Melbourne. What are your tips and tricks to dealing with those guys? Because I struggled with it because I have an ego.
Yeah.
They have an ego.
For sure.
But you've definitely sidestepped all that bullshit and you've been able to create like really good relationships.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for real estate agents in terms of making them want to deal with you, I think, is giving them good feedback on their properties because they actually love that. Most of the buyers, you think about it, if you're a real estate agent and you have 30 groups that come through your home, how many of them are even going to return your call? Like a lot of them just won't. And so what they usually say to me, they're like, well, you're a buyer's agent. Maybe your feedback is going to be more valuable to the vendor. So if you think that we've priced this too high, like, if we give them that information and I send them a text or something that just says like, hey, love this home, great period features, great high ceilings, sucked because X, Y, and Z, maybe it's not worth as much as what we think, or on the inverse, it might be like, yep, our client's really interested. We'd be prepared to make a pre-auction offer. Like, where's the vendor at? All of that information for them is just super, super valuable. And
yeah, they're not going to take offense to it, right? Like they actually want to hear it.
Yeah, for sure.
It helps them, if anything, especially if you're knocking it from, giving positive feedback around like why you don't want to purchase it or why the price might not be relevant. So if they've got it quoted at 2 million, for instance, and you go through it and you're like, yeah, the house is nice, but for that price point, the kitchen's really small and the backyard, just, the outlook isn't great. So yeah, we probably wouldn't see it being at 2 million, maybe like 1.8. They would actually value that feedback.
Just a bit of honesty, like, literally that's, I think it's super valuable to them. And a lot of agents have told me that before in the past, like they'll say like, please just let me know what your thoughts are. We're in a negotiation at the moment on a property, and it's an off market around the corner from where we are now in Richmond, actually. But that agent has said to me like, hey, in the offer, would you mind providing some examples of some comparable sales, and I'll forward the whole thing onto them. And it's like, because sometimes maybe the agent feels like they don't want to be talking negatively about a home or saying like, hey, your home's not worth as much as what it is, because that's probably how they got in the door, from saying we'll get you the best price. And then it's the bit that real estate agents hate, vendor conditioning, right? Like, maybe talking them down of why it's not worth as much. I don't know if agents
dislike it.
Well,
I think it's part of their process.
It's part of their process. Yeah. I'd say it's definitely one of the least desirable parts of their job, is like having to condition vendors down and tell them that you might need to drop the quoted range or something. Like
it's an awkward conversation.
They're
for sure.
Uncomfortable. So if you can do it for them, or just give them a bit of ammunition and be like, hey, well, this is what a buyer's agent has said. This was their feedback on the property. It's usually can go a long way with them.
You've always got to have the proof.
And then the next thing about, if you want to build relationships with real estate agents, is just like buy off them. Like if as soon as you do a transaction with a real estate agent, they're going to send you every off market that they've got going forwards in perpetuity, because you're making the money, or introduce them to someone or something. Like they love all of that stuff. That's where the biggest differences can come.
100%. Mate, as we round out, I always ask a question, which is, if you were walking down the street and someone bumped into you and said, hey, I know you're a buyer's agent, I've been thinking of becoming a buyer's agent, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I'd say, honestly, it's an epic career. And this is something that it's always stuck with me, that I've had a real estate agent say to me, which I think is like very, very true. They were saying to me that they were thinking about becoming a buyer's agent. And I was like, oh, well, why is that? Like, you're doing this sort of similar thing, but on the other side. And they said, it looks like it's a lot more fun. Like, think about literally 50% of all of our sales as real estate agents come from death, debt, and divorce, right? And, quite often it's a lot of tough conversations, and maybe it's not happy memories that are created along the way with their clients, and they're going through tough journeys. Whereas at the buyer side of things, it's like literally every time you purchase, it's popping champagne and it's big celebrations, and you bring the family in, and then they want to catch up, and you want to go coffees afterwards and all this stuff. So I think like the client journey that we take people on, even if it's like buying an investment property, you're buying investment, like it's pretty exciting times, and I mean, you obviously work pretty crazy hours, and it's a lot of hard work as well, but I think it's just rewarding work for that same thing. So mate, I'd say jump into it. You got to give it a crack.
I love that. I haven't heard that part of it, like especially now, as there's a few more real estate agents starting to, we know one like that we've worked with before. He's jumped ship now. So yeah, and he was
honestly, I'm so surprised at how many agents bring it up to me at opens.
Yeah, it's definitely becoming more common.
They'll start to, I'll see him a few times, and they'll be like, oh, you do a bit around here, like how's that? And then I know that they'll be like, oh, so how do you get leads? And like, so who do you call? Where's your clients? Because they're not walking into your homes. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. And they'll ask me a few questions, and they'll be like, then they'll usually slip it in. Yeah, I've been thinking about it for a while, becoming a buyer's agent. Maybe we should catch up and grab a coffee or something. And I've had coffee with that many real estate agents that
so funny
are just asking questions about the buyer's agent world.
There you go.
It's it's interesting, but I think it's definitely becoming more popular for a reason. And I think it's a growing industry. And I think the more people that I speak to, the more I realize that there actually is a need for the service, especially in Melbourne, especially in these auction markets in Melbourne. And yeah, I think, it's going to stay around for a long time.
Mate, thank you so much. Great to have you on.
Pleasure, mate. It's always good to see you.